Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏.
Welcome in, 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏 with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are following us on Facebook. We appreciate that very much. We want to continue to grow the audience anyway and as much as we can to try to expose this information to as many clients for almost it's actually more than 8 years now. The focus has been education and information on here at Real Estate Radio Live. We continue to provide you with great guests, good content, and information to help achieve that goal. This is a podcast, however, so we would absolutely love to have you. If you have not done so, download the podcast. That way you could, listen to the show anytime at your convenience. You can go anywhere online and really just type in Real Estate Radio Live, and you'll have all kinds of different options. iTunes, Stitcher, Google+, any of these places you could download the podcast, or you could just go to our website, 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. That is 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. Typically on Mondays, we have the group in, either Mark or Steve. Today, Mark is with us from 𝗪𝗏𝗠, and the title is Accessing Home Wealth Without Debt. And that is the ongoing topic typically we do on Mondays. And this is a program and a model that is just a couple of years old. Steve and Mark were on the show, most of you may know, several years ago, kind of in its infancy, and now it's developed a full step moving forward, and we want to continue to educate you on this because this is really an educational process. Anytime a new program comes out or something that people aren't really comfortable or understand, it is up to us to educate you, especially when it's something so excited that there's another option available to access home wealth without debt. So we'll get started with that. Mark, welcome back in.
Thank you. Good morning, Joe.
Good to have you here. Maybe let's get started the way we normally just assume, or for those that have not listened to the show, give them a little bit about your background and 𝗪𝗏𝗠, and then give them a little bit about the concept and what you're doing, and then we could dive into our talking points.
Well, great. Thanks, Joe. 𝗪𝗏𝗠 has been around for about 5 years now, and we got started in this because we found that there were many homeowners that were looking for a different way to access their wealth in their homes. And a lot of them could not qualify for a mortgage, did not want to take out a loan, or wanted to diversify their home wealth. And there was no real product out there outside of a loan or a reverse mortgage, which is debt. And we looked at the concept and were able to come up with a product that allows homeowners to access some of their home wealth without taking out debt or incurring monthly expenses. It's a product that allows homeowners to get up to 20% of their home value in cash. There are no monthly payments, no interest costs, and the homeowners agree to share in the future home price movement. The house may go up in value or the house may go down in value. If the house goes up in value, they share some of that with the investor. And if the house actually goes down in value, the investor can lose some of their money. So it's a great way for homeowners to access some of their home wealth. And we have now a whole suite of products. Just like in the mortgage world, we have 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year products. And each of those has different flavors. And what we look at is the homeowner's personal situation. Every homeowner's situation is different.
Right.
And so we match up the exact product for their needs.
Right. Perfect. Well, what we're going to do is, as we always do, again, this is an educational process. So for those that are listening to the podcast or watching the show, we'd just like to review. Most of you know that I've spent the last 20 years in residential financing, so I'm continuing to educate people on financing options and different things. So just to kind of review, most of you are very familiar with kind of the traditional standard conventional financing, which is, the 30-year mortgage, and whether it's a 5-1 ARM or a 7-1 ARM, there's different products. But in general, most of you are familiar with what's called the forward mortgage. So the forward mortgage is you get a mortgage on your home, it's $400,000. You have estimated payments based on your interest rate, and you make those payments on a monthly basis. whether it's a 15-year, 30-year, or whatever, but that is lien on your property, and it's a liability, and it's a mortgage payment. Most of you also aware of the home equity line. That's another way to access money off your home. And you could get a home equity line for $100,000, $200,000. Let's say you want to do a remodel, pay off some debt, do some things like that, which is very popular. So some people, or most people, would say, okay, what are my other options? I don't want to do anything with my first mortgage. So then you get a home equity line. But remember, again, that is a debt, and that is a liability that goes against your property. And when you access that money, you have a payment. Typically, it's an interest-only payment. And again, those rates are going up on the home equity lines. So again, this is a debt. It's a payment. And if you want the money, it's there available, but you have to qualify for it. And traditional financing, they have very structured guidelines on debt-to-income ratio and loan-to-value and credit scores and a lot of things that go into that. And again, some people that have gone through this, you're familiar with that. Then we have, of course, the reverse mortgage, which some people may or may not be familiar with. This is another way to access equity from your home without a payment. However, the problem is that is still debt because that debt accumulates. So let's just give you an example of the way that works in simple terms. If you access a couple $100,000 on a reverse mortgage, it is true you're not physically making a mortgage payment every month, but what is happening is the principal is compounding. So if that payment is based on, let's call it a $2,500 a month payment, that reverse mortgage, and you take out $200,000, that $200,000 will continue to grow. So it's a reverse, just the way they call it, it's a reverse mortgage. So what happens is it gets added to that principal balance. So those are really the three types of mortgages in general. Now there's hard money and other things like that, but in general, how people access or get money from their homes. So why we're excited about introducing this program Mark just talked about is that this is truly accessing home wealth without debt. Right, Mark? I mean, that's a difference. It's always a good idea just to remind people of kind of traditional mortgages.
Right. And as we've said in the past, if you were a business or a corporation and you need money, you have various paths to get it. You can go debt, you can go to the equity market, or you can get a hybrid. In the homeowner world, those two, the equity markets, have never been available to the homeowner. It's always been debt.
Right.
And now, for the first time, they're able to use the equity-style products to get access to their money. And the great thing about these products are they are tied to the home price movement. So if you get a fixed loan or a fixed reverse mortgage, that continues to go up whether your house goes up or your house goes down.
Right.
In these type of products that we have, you only owe more back than you got if your house goes up in value.
Right.
If your house goes down in value, you would owe less money back. So it's a great way to match your liability to the asset that's underlying it.
Yeah. You know what I love about it too? We don't talk about it enough, but what's great about it is when you access the money through the program you're talking about, you don't have to worry like most people do whether that home equity line is going to recast or adjust, or is my payment going to go up 3 times. I know that equation is completely out. You don't have to worry about your rate going from 4% to 7% and so on.
No, it's fixed at the time you get it, and you make no payments. There's no fees involved on a monthly basis. So you get the product, and depending on the product, you might not need to address it up to 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to have comfort that it's not going to recast in 10 years or 15 years, or the interest is going to go up if interest rates go up. You get the money, you get to use it for whatever purpose you want, and there's nothing to do until the agreement terminates.
Right. One of the other things I want to talk about, Mark, like you to speak to a little bit, is the fact that in a market like this where we just came out of historic, I mean, we haven't, rates are still good in general, historically speaking, but several years ago, we had some really, really low rates. A lot, millions of people took advantage of those rates. And in some cases, they may have 15% loans that are in the 2s, which is crazy, but it was there for a while. And then, you might have 30-year fixes or other programs, or, still 3.5%, 3%. Anything in the 3% range is just remarkable, historically speaking. So let's talk a little bit about that. In other words, some of the fear people have, Mark, is, I have this 3.25% 30-year fixed. I need a couple $100,000. I don't want to mess with it. And I agree with him. I mean, that's a tough one to mess with, right? I mean, so talk about how that fits into this program.
The great aspect of this is we work in conjunction with your existing mortgage. You keep that in place.
Mm-hmm.
You have a fantastic 2.5%, 3% mortgage. You keep that in place, and the money that you would get from this is on top of that.
Right.
It's subordinate to any of the mortgages you
Mm-hmm.
have, so it's not a problem. The great thing is you get to keep that low interest rate mortgage, and because if you need $100,000 or $200,000 and you qualify, you might be able to get a new mortgage at 5 or 5.5% in today's rates,
Mm-hmm.
which means the whole mortgage is going to be paying that. In our product, you get to keep that low-cost mortgage you have in place, not worry about it, and this money is on top of it, and there's no monthly payments.
Right. One of the other things I want to talk about, or at least exchange a little back and forth with Mark, because I see it a lot here, and keep in mind a lot of this stuff we repeat during the conversations and the shows we do. And the reason why we repeat them, just so those know that are listening to our show, is that because this truly is an educational process, and we can't assume that a person listening to this podcast, this program is meant for you. Matter of fact, you may be listening to this podcast and you go, gee, you know, my parents, my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, there's a coworker I know might be able to. So this is the reason why it's really important that we share this information. One of the things that I come across on a regular basis, Mark, is someone, elderly person, whether single or they're still married or there's a couple. And this is again, I'll just tell you, this happens a lot. Someone's in their late 60s, 70s, and they come to me and they say, you know, they're either trying to get money for a remodel or to pay off some debt, or in some cases they may even want to help their child, their grandchildren, you know, with a home, with a down payment. But they're stuck, and the reason they're stuck and they're a little bit limited is because they're on a fixed income, like most people are retired on fixed income. So what that means is, you know, if you're making $5,000, $6,000 a month and that's it as a retired couple or person, there's no more places that you could access income to try to qualify. So in this case, again, the elderly are really stuck. Here they are. They have a home in many cases that they have all this equity locked up and tied up, but yet they can't use it until a program like this came along where you could access money from your home, again, without debt, and just achieve some of the things you want to do. So, Mark, talk a little bit about that, and then I guess, you know, why or what people are using this program. What's the most popular thing you're seeing, or what are you seeing on a regular basis?
Well, that's right, Joe. What happens is when we're young, everyone tells us, buy a house, buy a house. And when it's a forced savings account, you know, when you're older, it'll be your source of retirement income. Well, now you only find out later that, yes, it's been a great way to build wealth. I have $1.5 million of wealth in my home. But now lenders do not want to give you access to that because you can't qualify for more debt. So we're bringing home the reality that your home is a source of wealth. You should get access to that.
Right.
So that's what we give them access to, is their own wealth. They've built it up. They've earned it. They've worked really hard to maintain and pay for the house. And now we're letting the house pay their retirement expenses or whatever they look to use it for. We find there are a myriad of ways people are using this. As you said, some are using it to help their children with a down payment. That's become very, very prevalent. When they look at it, they say, well, we have all this wealth, but my son is going to move to Oregon or Portland or out of town. I don't want to see that happen and not be near my grandkids. I can access this wealth, or up to 20% of the house value, and give that to my child as a down payment. They can afford the monthly mortgage payment. They just don't have that down payment.
Right.
And it's a great use of their home wealth for that. And we have other homeowners that just need to supplement. You mentioned that $5,000 or $6,000, if you live in a high-cost area, that doesn't go very far. And if they can access this wealth and use it to supplement their retirement and stay in their home, that's a great way to use it. Or, you know, a lot of times we have homeowners that are looking to fix up the house. The bathroom's really old or the kitchen is outdated, and they really want to just fix it up so that they can stay in style. A lot of homeowners you find, and I'm sure Joe, you find when people are selling their houses or they're buying, that homeowners fixed up their house right before they moved.
Yeah.
They turned their house into this
Right.
showpiece, and unfortunately they have to leave.
Yeah, and they don't get a chance to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
This way they can remodel that bathroom, remodel the kitchen, and stay in style and not live in a house that they don't like anymore.
Right.
So there's just so many uses, and we find, there are other people that have used it to supplement their children's college education fund.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to save in a high-cost area that you live in with high, payments and mortgage payments. So you may be behind when your child goes to college.
Yeah.
This is a great way to fund that and not saddle them with loans so that when they come out of college, they're buried in debt.
Yeah, it really is. The other thing I want to touch on a little bit is that what also kind of breaks my heart, and I don't like to see unless you absolutely do, is I see people sometimes, they're desperate, they're on a fixed income, maybe they need money to pay off debt, or maybe they really medical bills. There's all kinds, could be any kind of reason why people need money. We all know that. And I see a lot of times because they're not quite educated or they're not getting all the options, explained to them. I see people dip into their 401k. I see them dip into their their emergency savings account. I see them do some different things that would really, depending on the timing, it's just, I would say try to avoid those kinds of things. Now, I will say everybody's situation's different. And so during the time we're doing this show, what I want to do is just remind everybody, if it's you listening to the show, or maybe, again, it's a parent, grandparent, someone you know, have them give me a call or Mark. I mean, if you're comfortable with me, and you know me and you want me to get on the phone first and go through the options with you, we could do that. And if it looks like one of the options is definitely something that Mark and Steve could help you with, then we'll get on another call or you could talk to them. So my point is really what I want to do is get the message out that this is an exciting program that a lot of people are unaware of. And it's another option, and it doesn't cost you anything to review it. It really doesn't. And matter of fact, Mark, I mean, you and Steve talk about it all the time. In many cases, you'll get on the phone, do a consultation on phone or in person. And in some cases, it may be right for a person. In some cases, it's not. And you might be able to offer some other solutions.
Yeah, our whole objective is to work with homeowners to understand their home wealth situation and how it matches up with their financial situation. There's no one product that fits everyone's situation. And if our products or suite of products fits them, that's great. If not, we'll point them in the right directions. Maybe they can qualify for a conventional mortgage, and in their situation, that's the right answer. We'll point them in that direction. We work with homeowners to help them maximize their home wealth. And whether that's through our product or through a conventional loan or home equity loan or reverse mortgage, our objective is to put them in the right product for their situation so that they can maximize their home wealth.
Right. The other thing I want to touch on, let's talk a little bit about, is the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units. You've heard, if you've been following my podcast, even outside of accessing home wealth here that we're talking about today without debt, you've heard me talk about how I'm a huge fan and advocate right now of adding accessory dwelling units to your property. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the state of California have come down, and a lot of people still don't know this, that throughout the entire state, what's happened over the last year or so is they're advocating that they loosened up a lot of guidelines. They're advocating that we add, because of the housing shortage that most of us know that we're dealing with, one of their solutions, when I say they, the state of California is saying, listen, we've worked with most counties in the state of California to figure out how we could make it easier for them to add an accessory dwelling unit legally on their property. And you'd be surprised that property doesn't need to be that big. It could be, I think 6,000 square feet or more, and it might be a little less. And you could add a certain square footage on an accessory dwelling unit. And believe me, I'm going through it. I know a lot of clients I'm going through it myself. They've made it simpler, easier to get this done. And the reason why is there's a mandate for housing shortage, and they feel like, the state feels like, that they could alleviate some of the pressure here by adding some of these units. So, Mark, this is another thing that would be a great use of money since it's coming from your property.
That's true. And, thanks to the California legislature, they put AB 2994 in place, which allows for, and there are 4 different types of accessory dwelling units. There's what you would think of as the external one, which is external to the house. It could be attached to the house. That's
a good point. Forget about that.
It could be attached to the house, just an add-on convert. A lot of people will convert a back porch area to an accessory dwelling unit. And then it could also be internal to the house. So there are a lot of ways that you can consider an additional dwelling unit that's advantageous to you. And this is a great window where the state legislature has allowed for the permitting process to be streamlined. In a lot of counties, they've waived fees and some of the restrictions that had been in place, the setbacks and what you need for that. So it's a great opportunity for homeowners that are looking to either have kids come back and live with them in a situation, or a lot of times the most common use is to generate additional income. We have someone that did an accessory dwelling unit, and this was an external structure, and they're generating $2,800 a month, which is a huge amount for them to supplement their retirement. So it's a great use of your home wealth to look at accessory dwelling units, especially in this window of opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. So as I always do, I would tell you, if you're listening to this podcast, please pass it along to someone that you think might be able to gain some knowledge on something like this. Check in, give me a call. Ask me questions about it. I'm not the expert, of course. I know enough about it. Mark and Steve are. What's the best way to contact you, Mark, if someone wants a little more information or wants to chat with you about this?
Sure. They can either call us directly at 650-802-0800 or go to the website 𝗪𝗡𝗏.com and fill out an information box, and we'll contact them directly.
Right. And I want to just throw out there again, because I know, believe me, especially for senior citizens, you are an easy target. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of scams out there for senior citizens. So if you're listening to this show, or you're a senior citizen, or maybe it's a parent or grandparent you're concerned about, and like, God, Joe, I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know who to trust. Then seriously, give me a call, and we could talk through that first. And I'll give you an overview and let you know it's legitimate, and we could talk through that and see if it makes sense or not. Because be careful with that too. I'll say this, a lot of senior citizens are the ones that need this type of help. I'm not saying it's all senior citizens, but typically on a large scale it is in some cases. So they are a target for scams and SAMs, a lot of different things that are going on online, telephone marketing, and a number of different things. So just keep an eye on that. So before we duck out again, Mark, anything else to kind of summarize, and then maybe you could give your contact information again?
Sure. We've started this whole endeavor to help senior citizens. Like you said, we've seen a lot of senior citizens that have been taken advantage of, and we really look to help and educate first and foremost. That's our mission. And through that, we can either help them with our product or point them in a direction to a reputable reverse mortgage consultant or home equity loan consultant and mortgage like Joe. But the whole essence is we're here to try and help homeowners maximize their home wealth. Right. And if they want more information, they can contact us directly at the phone number 650-802-0800 or go to our website, 𝗪𝗡𝗏.com, and that's 𝗪𝗡𝗏.com, and we're more than happy to help.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Good show again. Thank you those for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Remember, for more information, you could always go to 𝗪𝗡𝗏𝗪𝗏live.com, or you could always call me or text me during the week if you have questions. I get those quite frequently at 408-838-9060. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.